Okay. Just to let everybody know, you'll see that camera up there move. Sappa TV installed the new camera today. So it'll follow you, whoever's speaking.
Okay. Does it all by itself?
Yes.
Okay.
We need to open the agenda items off the town, off our email for the town. I wasn't. I opened it under the town of Weathersfield website.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just asking.
You would have to ask him. I don't know. I haven't seen it on there.
Okay. Did you try?
As far as...
Were you able to open the minutes? All I got was a black.
Oh, no, mine worked. The email from Suzanne earlier in the week.
Okay.
Pull them up.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I don't have to press record. What else set? Hey, do I have to press record on it, or are you all set? Okay. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. Ready?
Paul is with us tonight. Okay. It is 5:06. We're a few minutes late, but I'll call the meeting to order. Brandon, who do we have out there with us? I see Paul Tillman is with us.
We have caller number 5, Stephen Heyer, caller number 4, and caller number 6. Can the 3 callers identify yourself?
Is that it? Good evening and welcome to Weathersfield Select Board meeting, Monday, June 15th. David's out this evening. We do have 4 members, as Paul is present with us tonight on the webcam. Comments from Select Board, Town Manager, or citizens on topics not on the agenda. Who would like to start with this? Comments from Select Board. Any?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Okay, Town Manager?
The only request that I want to make is that we move the appointment of Chris Wooden after minutes, so to item number 4. He called in specifically to see if the board will consider appointing him the Deputy Health Officer.
And you want to move that to
item
4?
Number 4, after review minutes from previous meetings.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any comments from citizens on topics not on the agenda? None? Moving on. Consider a vote to sign a preferred site letter for Green Lantern Solar. I'll entertain a motion to sign the letter.
20 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I skipped one. I got by it already. Review the minutes of the previous meeting, June 1st. Do I hear a motion?
Accept.
Second.
Any discussion?
There was a typo I saw online, but I can't find it. That wasn't that serious. It didn't affect the contacts.
Okay. Anything else? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That is June 1st. And now consider a vote. Planning Commission. and it has to be signed by the Planning Commission and the Select Board. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to sign the letter of preferred site.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion?
What's the location on that?
This is the Pegasus firm over towards me. You know where I'm talking about, where the white fence is hanging down, for lack of a better, it's sort of across from Weathersfield, up a little bit from the Weathersfield Inn.
The old wall farm?
Yes,
Mike?
yes.
Just a quick comment that I realize this is probably something that's required by the state, but I'm really uncomfortable considering something a preferred site on private property. For any solar project, I mean, it's subjective whether it's a preferred site. I read through the packet that was written by their consultant, and it will be visible from Route 106. To some extent, is it objectionable? To some it might be, to others it isn't. It flies in, I just don't like the idea that we have to sign
Preferred site status
Okay.
at the Planning Commission on this site. Green Lantern worked with us, and actually we learned a lot. Paul, you want to chime in on any of this? You were instrumental in writing. Nature, almost similar to a conditional use permit, where certain the requirements that we want to make sure happen and the direction that this thing goes have to be met, or that preferred site status can be taken away. Is question whether or not that can actually happen with the state, but the support that is coming from us. This has to go through Act 248, which is the PUC, and we have standing in that hearing.
Right.
And so if they don't do what we've requested, or if they drift, which we're pretty confident they're not going to. But to address your issue, because this is talking more specifically about the across town, that you have these sites, and then everybody's just going to flock in here to go ahead and pick up on those sites, and boom, here you go. What we did at the Planning Commission was to create a checklist to determine whether we feel that this is a preferred site or not. You know, we've created all this language, and that's where this is coming from.
Okay.
You know, we put a lot of work into this,
Okay.
and held these guys up, and they were very, very patient, and they worked with us. They gave us a lot of information, a lot of good feedback on stuff that we can do and should do. So they were great to work with. So.
There's also some wordage in there about, are they going to be required to have a performance bond for
We cannot
decommissioning?
require that.
Okay.
Because that would be us entering into a private contract, and statutorily,
Yep.
we can't do that. But we have that in our preferred site, in that request, that list for a preferred site status. We are making those requests to landowners to have that discussion with developers.
Good. I noticed it was not definitive the way it was worded, but it's important.
Because we have to be careful with our language, because we
Yep.
don't have that authority.
Yep. I agree. No, I appreciate what you just said.
Yep.
And I don't have a big problem with it. It's just when we're endorsing a project on private property.
It's helpful to have you putting it in context for us, so how much work's gone into it.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
fine with that,
helpful.
as long as you guys have, you know, crossed your T's and dotted your I's.
We did as a matter of fact, the first time we did a site visit on this, I had to plow the driveway up there. We were all there.
I see the snow in the picture.
And, we did a site visit, and actually, Sven was on top of this in the beginning, and prior to any statutory requirement, he sent letters out to all the abutters.
Good.
So they've been abreast of
They
this
have every opportunity.
right from the get-go,
Okay.
even before it was required.
I'm trying to remember, we didn't go through quite this much when Hodgkins came, I don't think, or did we?
Same thing, yes.
Everything was okay.
Well, yes and no. It was the same, and we actually submitted a letter to the PUC challenging the sight lines because it was going to be visible for a certain amount of time
Yep.
coming up Route 5, and they dismissed that. The
Yeah.
PUC dismissed it. This is where some of our education came from about
Yep.
what leverage we have and how much authority and ability we have as a town, which is why we don't want to give up any more than we have to.
Well, it's similar to cell towers. I mean, you can't
Mm-hmm.
say, no, you can't.
Right.
Okay.
It's kind of the same with this.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't do
And
it.
I understand that to a certain extent. Like the one at the corner of 11 and 103, or 106, that one's, I wouldn't have called that a preferred site.
We're considering spacing, distances. There's a lot of things we're talking about over at the Planning Commission to try to understand and try to figure out how we want to deal with these. You know, because you don't want the whole town to all of a sudden look like a mirror.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, where all of a sudden we give it a preferred status, and it turns out it's got a
But these guys have been very adamant that they will use what. Limiter to putting these sites in. It can either be rolled back, and when the site goes away, you can bring the soil back.
It's not like
you
you're
know.
paving it and putting up a parking lot.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah. On the floor to approve the preferred site status letter for the Green Lantern Solar Project. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
And that's got to be signed by Dave, I think.
Yeah.
Part of this, or you could see it as acting chair?
Dave can come in and sign it. I think that'll be fine.
Okay.
It's signed by the chair. I think Paul, as chair of the planning commission, has already signed it, or will. Town manager's report.
Don't forget about Chris Whitten's.
Oh, I'm the deputy health officer to the town of Weathersfield.
Make a motion to name Chris Whitten Deputy Health Officer.
Second.
That's correct.
Okay, so that motion is a recommendation. Signify by saying aye. Aye. And you, Darren.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. The first item on my report, Martha, are you on the call?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. The first thing I wanted to report on tonight is the Highway Garage Solar Project. Over the past month, I have been in contact with Martha. She's here today. The Agency of Natural Resources has inquired as to whether the... What was that? Somebody just left the meeting. A&R inquired as to whether the layout could be modified to save some potential NLEB roost trees. Norwich Solar reviewed possible layout adjustments and provided us with an option. It's in your packet as attachment A. Paul, did you receive it via email?
Just type in his answers.
Okay. The proposed option moves the solar array 150 feet closer to the road to provide a 100-foot PRT buffer. Is that correct, Martha?
Yes, there's a 100-foot buffer around the PRT, is potential roost trees, and those
Visit with the select board, town manager, and highway superintendent tomorrow, if possible. Ray, do you have any comments on the move?
No,
The proposed move? Okay.
I definitely want to see it too.
Okay.
You said with the select board, is it Warren? If more than two of us should.
people park. And Ray, maybe you could clarify that if I've described it in the wrong way.
When you come in the driveway, it'll be on your right-hand side, right.
Demonstrates
Oh, I see.
what it was before and then what it is now. If you notice,
Ooh.
if you notice the proposal, you'll see pink circles.
Have you seen this, Ray?
I saw a draft on the bottom. I haven't seen that particular draft.
I'm sorry, Brandon. Go ahead.
You'll see the the pink circles, and that's the buffer.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Ray, they've moved this thing significantly over.
roosting habitat for the northern long-eared bat, and quite honestly, that is trees that are dying. They're white pine trees that are, places have cavities in them that the bats could potentially roost.
Michael, you probably remember this better than I do. Does this makes it more visible from the road or equivalent?
Visibility from the road, I don't think changes that much. Maybe a
Right.
little bit, but
Well,
the setback distances that would be, it's basically going to push you right out of the, isn't it?
During construction,
the one we just talked about.
Actually, that was brought up. The Planning Commission had less to do with this. Most of this went through here, and not the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Because because it's town-owned property, the decisions were all being made here. But the zoning administrator, at the time, Sven, was involved, and we were having discussions and keeping up with what was going on over at the Planning Commission.
Right.
And yes, they did come in and talk to us.
I just want to make sure we're treating everybody.
Along a lot faster than theirs did. But the difference was, this is owned by the town, that one's owned by a private landowner, and yes, we handled it the same and we applied the same standards, but we didn't have the control of the say like we do here.
Yep.
You know, so it was,
Yeah. He executed the option to lease, which would provide the town with a $11,000 annual payment for rent. And then it also has a net metering agreement that will provide a discount to the town's meters. And so this project is significantly further along than
Yes.
what I understand Green Lantern's asking. This project is also already filed an application to the Public Utility Commission. And this whole question about moving the array is because the Agency of Natural Resources, Fish and Wildlife Department, raised this concern about the northern long-eared bat and asked that if the project could be slightly adjusted to not take out these trees and provide a 100-foot buffer around the trees.
Okay.
Okay. I don't see the well. Anyway, it's been on some others.
So, yeah, it's at the, I'm not sure what map you're looking at. Array, there is a road right through the middle of the array. There's an area where there's no solar panels on the east or the west, and there's access. That is the 25, I believe it's 25-foot right-of-way for access to the well, and the well is at the end of that straight road.
Yep. Yeah, there's a
Is this one ballasted also?
Yeah. No, this would be driven post.
okay.
To the neighbor's house, it's a long run. You got to be cognizant of driving posts on top of the water line. Especially.
Yeah, and the water line is in that. It is the adjacent landowner. We've been out to the site and looked at it. Actually, I think Ed Morris was with us. We walked it. We showed it to him. We modified the layout to address his concerns and the existing agreement he has with the town.
Okay. So you're pretty confident. Road.
Based upon Wayne, and the survey that accompanies his agreement with the town, yes, but in any case, we're done.
Okay.
Is there any action
Or approval if
approval of what?
the site visit goes well to move the array as shown in the draft plan.
Well,
Excuse me, Brandon. We're looking at moving the array, so he says that the select board wanted a site visit, and I'm hoping the Agency of Natural Resources is sort of waiting to hear back from us, and based upon that agreement, I think this project can get moving and begin to benefit the town sooner rather than later. I'm not sure that there is a vote needed. As I said, it was a courtesy to show that this is a modified location from what the exhibit shows in the lease agreement.
So no approval is needed for the modification?
And if we have any concerns, they're asking us now, what do you have for concerns? But as far as approval, I mean, we could say, well, how about if they give us 75 feet? You know, we might, just as a suggestion, come up with something like that and see if Agency of Natural Resources will reduce the setback. But I don't know that we have any at this point, because we're already moving forward with this. And Ray's here, you're saying that it doesn't appear to be interfering with you or in your representative to the Highway Department for the Select Board, John Harrison, and he, I think, is planning on being there, if he can be. Brandon will be there, and Ray will be there.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Or if you want to discuss it, you can. It's up to you.
Well, I'm happy to. The Department of Environmental Conservation has requested that a limited phase 2 environmental assessment be conducted. I mentioned
Does that sound?
Would the agenda item, Mr. Todd, would the agenda item be to vote?
Does now,
Okay.
as a discussion item, does that mean a vote will take place? That night will determine that discussion.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to
Thank
note
you.
that we're only discussing this under the town manager's report, and
Yes.
butters that may not have picked up that there was any discussion of this tonight, and I think they deserve that courtesy.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is all going to be at the next meeting.
Okay.
I'm sure that the landowners that we speak of will probably be present at that meeting, and they'll have their questions.
Okay.
I agree with John. We've kicked this can down the road quite a bit on this one. I mean, it got hung up in this Phase 2 environmental assessment. I need some time to review this here, and we may talk about this also with the Planning Commission, and that may help move this along at the next meeting here. But
All right.
That'd be nice. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm going to move quickly through the rest of the report. The next item is the Ascutney Fire District number 2. The annual meeting for the Ascutney Fire District was held on Tuesday, June 9th, 2020. I just wanted to update the board on a couple of the votes the voters of the Ascutney Fire District made in favor. The first is to expand the boundaries of AFD2 west on 131 to Levine Road. So before the voters made that change, the boundary stopped at the I-91 corridor. So now we've expanded west down to Levine Road as a Phase 1 expansion project in the future. I just wanted to note that that also covers the Ascutney Fire Department and a couple of other roads along the way. If we decide that we want to move forward with an expansion project.
So any discussion about expanding a little farther south to include Tenny Hill? I mean, I know the Tenny Hill people weren't particularly interested.
Yep.
But if the boundaries change and they're not required to be a customer, and there's no lines down there, there's really no risk to them.
Yes, and they also become voters of the Ascutney Fire District too as well. So you have to reside within the district to be able to vote. So we expanded, and now more people can vote, and more people can have input on whether or not they want to be on the water system.
Okay.
It'll take a lot of work to get there. It's nothing that would happen anytime soon.
No, it requires some significant cash.
Yeah. Yep.
I know the goal is to develop more customers, more revenue.
Yes.
With more customers comes expense. So.
Yep. The second thing that we voted on was the budget to merge with the town of Weathersfield. All administration of the water district will be conducted by town staff. And a new member was appointed to the Prudential Committee, Wendy Smith. So we're going to be working together to stabilize the system. There's a lot of issues that we need to work on. I'm looking into a couple of different options to increase the revenue for the water district. I'm going to be applying for grants to stabilize the system in February. We have a higher chance of receiving an award if we have matching funds. So we don't want to raise water rates, nor do we want to use reserves for these matches. So I'm going to start having discussions of potentially selling bottled water. And they also have access to the Connecticut River. So if we, in the summer months, if the AFD2 would provide access, Windsor has a kayaking business where they could provide a pickup location at AFD2. So those are some of the conversations I'm looking forward to having with the Prudential Committee, and I'll keep you guys updated as we move forward. The next thing is the fire department insurance. We discussed in the previous meeting that the Ascutney Fire Association purchased a ladder truck and added it to our town insurance. And the conclusion was that it was a violation of Section 8.4 of our existing contract with the Ascutney Fire Association. Section 8.4 reads as follows. The Town of Weathersfield will provide motor vehicle insurance coverage for all vehicles and apparatus owned in full or in part by the Town of Weathersfield. Weathersfield will also provide the departments with motor vehicle insurance coverage for the vehicles and apparatus owned by the departments. The carrier and amount of coverage shall be at the sole discretion of Weathersfield. Any purchases of vehicles, apparatus, or capital equipment requiring insurance without select board or town approval will be considered a breach of contract and may result in withdrawal of all town support and funds. I discussed this issue with the fire chief and president of the Ascutney Fire Department. Our conversation resulted in them seeking their own insurance for the ladder truck. Initially, the coverage would cost $2,000, but I talked to Darren today, and it's looking like the insurance will be $5,000, which is 10 times the amount the LCT charges us. So to put that into perspective, it's $442, I believe, annually, and if they went to their own insurance company, it would be $5,000. So Ascutney Fire Department is interested in moving all of their trucks and building onto their own policy. Mr. Spalding stated that the insurance provider will give them a better price if the policy covered everything. This is a conversation that should be put on the next select board agenda for review. Invite Darren and Mark over here and look at how we're going to move forward. The department expects delivery of the ladder truck during the first week of July. So I think it's important that the board determines which way to go with this. Right now, I have not removed it from the LCT insurance. I'm working with Darren until he gets his own insurance or the board makes a decision otherwise. Now the next subject in my report is the website redesign. Phase 1 of the website redesign is around 85% complete. My intent at this time is to put this item on the agenda for the select board to review and residents to provide feedback on both the design and information existing on the website. Afterwards, a list of changes will be established to move into phase 2 and finalize our website. When we put the website on the agenda, I'd like to take about an hour with the select board to go through the entire website and get feedback from both the select board and residents on changes that should be made that would fit Weathersfield. Right now we have the design, but anything's up for debate. And it's really easy for us to make the changes. We just compile the list, send it over to revise, and they can change whatever the select board and residents want. So I'd like to put that on the agenda at a time where we'll have about an hour. The next item is the transfer station. West Windsor, Reading, and I are working on an equal payment schedule for the transfer station. Revenue for the transfer station is generated from an assessment per parcel in Weathersfield, a one-time payment from Reading, and West Windsor pays a different amount per year based on the number of people that use it. So in other words, they pay as they play. If 3 people use it, the revenue is $150. It's not across the board. Our FY20 revenues at the transfer station were $262,328. Our total proposed budget for FY21 is $283,336, and revenue for permit stickers are broken down as follows. In Weathersfield, we pay $81,100 per parcel assessment. In Reading, it's $18,635. And in West Windsor, it's $6,000, which is subject to change based on the number of people that purchase them on an as-needed basis. If we come to an agreement on an equal payment system, the numbers will be as follows. Weathersfield, $81,100, Reading, $31,050, and West Windsor, $44,100. And that's based, the reason why the numbers are not exactly equal is because we have a different number of parcels in each town. West Windsor is a much smaller town, and the same is true in Reading. So that's based on a $50 sticker fee per parcel. Once an equal payment schedule is agreed upon, we can start conversations on the following. Reducing the permit sticker price. If we're bringing in more revenue, we should be able to reduce the sticker price per parcel. Right now they're $50. If we determine how much it will cost to operate the transfer station and how much revenue we need, we can determine if we can lower the sticker price. I wouldn't recommend doing that right off immediately. There's a few things that Ray and I have been discussing that need to be addressed over at the transfer station. One of those is creating a new permit sticker system, updating the punch ticket system, replacement of a trash compactor, purchase of 2 trash compactor containers, installation of a well. Right now there is no running water at the transfer station, which is a safety issue. And Ray and I can go into that a little bit further when we put it on the agenda. And then another is potentially hiring an additional person part-time, to have a third person if one of the transfer station employees are, call out sick or wants to go on vacation or so forth. Or if we may need a third person there. So those are conversations that we'll look into having in the future.
Thank you.
In your conversations with West Windsor and Reading, what's the reaction been?
It's been very positive. They're both very open to doing this. Of course, it has to go before their select boards, and they would have to approve this. But the conversations have been positive. This topic was addressed last year, but it was too late in their budget season to make the change.
Right.
So basically, we're just having this conversation again.
And really, per parcel thing wouldn't be able to take effect over a year from now, really, when their tax bills go out in 2021.
That's correct.
Okay.
So the effects won't be immediate, but we're being proactive now to make those changes happen.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, consider a vote to adopt the Vermont Local Government Resolution. Do I hear a motion to accept that resolution?
Yeah, so moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second. Where'd this come from?
Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
What's that?
Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
It's basically just a nudge to the legislature.
Exactly. In many states, such as Massachusetts, 25% of the funding given to the state was given back to cities and towns for COVID-19 support. The state of Vermont has not done that. And many cities and towns have a lot of COVID-19 expenses.
Yeah, ours are minuscule compared to some places.
Yes, that's correct.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Does the board want to take action on this tonight, or do you want to hold off on it till everybody's here?
It doesn't have any meat to it anyway. It's just, like I said, it's a nudge to the legislature showing that.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Number 7, education tax rate discussion.
So this is more of an update. I could have put this in my town manager report. Darlene, did you need any action on this today?
No, just wanted them to be aware of what the state's kind of telling us regarding when we might see rates. I think they might have changed that a bit, and that we might have them a little sooner than what Jill had sent out, but just to be aware that we're still at their beck and call with the education rates not at this point, you know, don't know when they're going to be set.
And this will have an effect on cash flow, significant for the first quarter.
Yes. Yes. And then we'll have to have those discussions. I'm talking with Steve. My inclination is to leave the rest of our payments where they normally lie, and just that first payment might need to be date changed, but leave the other ones where they normally fall, November, February, May. So those will be things as we progress to the first meeting in July. We'll have to talk about, you know, is it just that first payment we're going to move?
Sometimes July 15th is the deadline for homestead declaration. Does anybody, Brandon, have any information on whether that's getting extended? Because that's the typical, that's consistent with tax, right?
You file that with your income tax, and your
Correct.
income tax is due by July 15th. So
Right, and normally it would have been done by April 15th.
correct.
So everything moved to July 15th, so it's consistent and in line. Okay, just wanted to make sure that we're clear on that. There's no action on this, correct? Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure if I heard in your town manager's report that the listers completed their
That is correct.
assessments, correct?
They did.
Okay.
So we're ready to set the tax rate, but with the exception of, we don't know what the school tax rate is.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Plus, we will have to reprint a fair, well, I think we determined about 200 bills if we don't get the download from the state until August 1st, and we decide to print bills ahead of time with the homestead tax credit. I think Carolyn had said she had gotten a majority of them, but what we determined on Thursday, at this point, we might have to reprint and remail 200 revised bills because of extension of the homestead credits.
Okay. Anything else on that? For the town, I understand that Sean Whalen, the chair of the school board, has a question for us regarding this. Sean, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I sent a letter to Brandon about the Martin Luther King holiday because back on January 6th, the select board did vote to deny the Martin Luther King holiday for town employees. And I just I hope that the board would revisit that because it has come to me in these last few weeks that
I'm thinking that there might be a bit of a misunderstanding or a misuse of language, perhaps, on our part here. Brandon has the motion, and I believe, is there part of the discussion from the minutes with that, Brandon? Or not? As I recall, Brandon, and John, you were there, I believe, when this took place. The discussion wasn't not to have the Martin Luther King holiday. It's not how it sounds in the language that was printed in the minutes, or even how the motion was made, I think. The reason the motion was made that way, Sean, was the Martin Luther King something that the employees were allowed to determine for themselves how they wanted to take it. And that was, as I recall, back when this first came up, which was several years ago, it was at their request, at their idea that that they would take the Martin Luther King Memorial holiday as a floating holiday. And it came up through HR, I think, upstairs, and they didn't understand that that had taken place and that that was the request from the employees. And so we dealt with it to kind of get it off the table, but it did not mean what it kind of says, that we don't support the Martin Luther King holiday. That is not the intent of the motion or the intent of the decision. Do I have that right, Brandon, about as, or John? You, as I said, you were there.
Well, it goes way back to when Martin Luther King became a national holiday, and the discussion was whether or not we would make it also a town holiday. And at that time, we did have a floating holiday, which traditionally is taken the Friday after Thanksgiving. And I think what the feeling of the board, and I'm only speaking for myself, but in recollection, was that we didn't feel we wanted to increase the number of holidays. And if the town employees, we were more than receptive to making that one, shifting it from a floating holiday to Martin Luther King. But the employees at the time just said, no, we want to keep it a floating holiday, which, like I said, usually falls on the, well, Friday we're not working anyway, so I'm not sure. When
Floating holiday is usually determined at the beginning of the year, and it's set by the town manager, and the employees always discuss what is the best day to take a floating holiday. If it gives them a better weekend for a holiday for Christmas, or depending on what day Christmas is on, or whatever holiday.
If it comes on a Tuesday, you'd probably take Monday.
That's what historically has happened,
Okay.
that I can remember. But Brandon probably knows more than I do about it now.
That's correct.
Okay.
So Sean, how would you envision this being resolved?
Well, I'm still not clear about what the intent of the select board is, but I do know that this is that Martin Luther King's birthday, which is recognized as the third Monday in January, is recognized as a federal holiday, and the select board voted to deny it on January 6th. And whether it's a floating holiday or any other
Okay, understanding what you would like to see happen, I would like to put this on a future agenda when the full board is seated for discussion.
I just want to go out there and make it known that I'm with Sean on this one. I think by not giving the holiday on the day, you are undermining what it stands for. And we would never think of doing that on Veterans Day or Memorial Day or anything like that. I totally see his point, and I strongly agree with it, so.
I do. I can see that as well, so.
The only problem I have with the whole philosophy of some of the holidays is we hold, this year it was done online, but we hold an event over in Perkinsville, and I think the most we've had there maybe is 50, 60 people out of the whole population. So the holidays, I'm not sure the meaning and the reflection that people should be taking is being taken. And I don't want to see that January, what is it, the 15th day, whatever day it is, I can't remember the exact day, become a day to go skiing. Sometimes it's even better if you're at work and take an hour to reflect on the man and what he accomplished, as opposed to just making it a day off to go goof off. Memorial Day's turned into the kickoff for barbecue season. I don't know, that's just my thought. I think the school, Sean, the school takes it off, right?
Yes.
The school should be in session,
The federal
and the
holiday.
day should be spent on civil rights, not home watching SpongeBob.
Well, we don't enforce what people do on these holidays.
I understand.
We don't enforce that. It's something we're all free to celebrate the way we want. I wish everyone would go to Perkinsville Green on Memorial Day. And it's time for this town to recognize Martin Luther King Day just the way we recognize the other ones.
Okay, I get your point.
Again, I think we'll put this on a future agenda, revisit this topic when the full board is seated. Is that fair enough to everybody? Is that okay, Sean? Sean?
Well, given that you have a quorum, I wish you'd just vote to recognize the holiday. But if you won't do that, I would ask that you put it on your next agenda.
I do want to tell the board that Paul is voting via message,
Yes.
which is legal, and he has commented. Mr. Tillman stated that he would like to see a holiday for the town as well. Mr. Tillman also stated that he agrees.
As a holiday for the town as well.
I'm fine with voting for it. I know I'm going to vote no matter what anybody says. So.
Now or the next time. The holiday schedule will be revisited again when we enter budget season, and whatever, as you said, we look at the list of holidays, how many we have. So we'll have a chance to look at that again.
I do think it's important to have the full board present. Although there is a quorum, we do not have input from one member.
That in
We got to January, it's only middle of June.
that's right.
So, and to be honest, adding one more paid holiday is not going to affect the amount of the work's still going to get done.
Yeah.
So that isn't the issue.
Right.
If it snows, those guys are working anyway. So just becomes overtime.
It is, to me, a matter of courtesy to allow all 5 members.
I agree. It has a lot of emotion to it, especially today.
Yes. And that's more where I'm coming from. It's not, So that's what we'll do. We will put this on the next agenda, or let me say a future agenda. I'm not sure it will be on the next agenda, but it will be on a future agenda in the near future.
Mike, I have to assert that that's not good enough in this time. The board will do what it needs to, but that's my opinion as a member of the public, that it's more urgent than waiting until the next budget season.
Oh, no, I'm not gonna, that's not what I said. I'm the vice chair, and I more than likely will not be setting the next agenda. That will be up to the chair and the town manager. And that's the only reason I'm not, I'm just saying it'll be a future agenda item, and I said in the near future. It may be the very next agenda. I don't know that at this time. We sometimes have very busy agendas, and we prioritize. And I understand how important this is to you, but there are other issues that are important too, the town as a whole. And as John pointed out, the holiday itself doesn't fall until January. So, if that has to fall through a crack for a month or so, it's not going to really change the outcome.
Your board voted to deny this holiday 2 weeks before Martin Luther King's birthday. So I don't know when the right time is, Mike.
Well, apparently you didn't.
Motion to move on.
Yeah, no, Mike, the reason I wasn't at the January 6th meeting is because there was a school board community-wide potluck that night. I would have loved to be with you.
That's not what I was going to say. Mr. Harrison's made a motion to move on.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next item on the agenda, and Martin Luther King holiday will be on a future.
Should we call a vote whenever you do a vote on a motion, we're not including him?
Oh. Yeah, I see that. Yes, to move on. Paul voted to move on. Thank you, DeForest. I'm sorry. Okay, I have a list going for all of these future agenda items. Next on the agenda is the first reading of the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Conduct Policy, Fraud Prevention Policy, Investment and Banking Policy, and Capitalization of Assets Policy. John, do we typically read all through these in one? You're like, ouch.
They're on the website, so anybody who wants to comment on it has had the opportunity to read it.
Now, as I understand, Brandon, this is some of the stuff is just coming out of the office is like housekeeping, kind of.
Yeah, I think some of these policies. Darlene, are you still on the call?
Yes, I think Steve's on too.
Okay,
So
great.
we need it for the audit. These were items the auditors brought up as findings that we don't have these policies or they need to be revised. So that's why they're coming to you. We're hoping to get them so that we can get them off the issues for the auditors before they come in August.
Okay, so the process will be there has to be 3 readings, and this is the first reading. So I'm not sure if members had all of these documents previously. I think we did. I'm not sure if any changes have been made since we received them before. But I would just review these, and if anybody has any questions or comments. John?
Yeah, we've always had a conflict of interest and ethics policy, and this one is more thorough and all-encompassing. Where'd the wordage come from, Brandon, do you know?
What was that again? I'm sorry.
Where'd the wordage for this one? In general, I have no problem with it, but it's about 4 pages longer than the one we had before.
Yeah.
So Steve Hires on the call. He drafted these policies. Steve, would you like to discuss?
Sure. The conflict of interest and ethical conduct came from the League of Cities and Towns. It's their, it's essentially their model policy for that. It is similar to the one we had. A lot of it is an update in language, but it's pretty much, it's difficult, if not impossible, to go through and show you exactly where every word changed, because it's a pretty extensive rewrite and update. But Darlene is correct that all of these policies, and some more that will come to you in the future, were all things that the auditors said that we needed to either adopt or revise. This one in particular is one that is required by the federal government so that we're eligible to receive federal grants. And apparently the wording of our previous one was out of date enough that it was no longer adequate.
John?
There's one section, Steve, that I didn't particularly care for under Article 11 enforcement. A1, the chair of the select board may meet informally with a public officer to discuss a possible conflict of interest violation that shall not take place in a situation where the chair and the public officer together constitute a quorum of public body. And the problem I have with that is that it could be the chair that the problem is with, and B, we act as 5 of us, not as one. So I think that I think we should strike that or come up with some alternate wording that with the consensus of the board. And probably it's only going to be 3 because one person is the one that's in question. But I think the board needs to be consulted. I don't want any chair to have the authority to drag somebody off to the side and without the rest of the board being fully cognizant of the allegation.
We can certainly change that. Under Article 11 enforcements, if you read under letter A, the last 2 lines, the select board may, in its discretion, take any of the following disciplinary actions. So it is the select board that is authorizing the chair to meet informally with a public officer. So each one of those 1 through 4 are all
Secondary.
select board.
So it's after going through what you're saying, John. In other words,
I just don't want to see a future chair think that they have that authority without.
And it's easy to get that interpretation,
right.
For me at least, by reading what's here.
So we could repeat the same wordage, or we could repeat similarly. We could say, as I think you suggested, John, would be at the direction of the select board, the chair may meet informally.
That would work.
Yeah,
that would work.
Yeah, the chair at the direction of the select board.
There you go.
Right in number 1.
Yep.
Because that makes it clear that you don't have
no question
unilateral authority.
Right.
Correct.
That was it.
Yep. That's a good point. Okay. Is that it for all 4 documents? Or just the conflict of interest and ethical conduct policy?
The investment and banking one, I kind of glanced over when I was reading it.
We'll leave that up to those who understand.
Yes, there you go.
Okay. So this is our first reading on these. We will have these again on the next agenda for the second reading.
And the good news is, when we get done with these, we'll have some more for you.
Oh,
Well,
good.
thank you so much. No, really though, thank you.
Thank you
We
for your
appreciate
work,
your help,
Steve.
Steve. Thank you for doing this work.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda, consider a vote to advertise the RFP for the tandem axle dump truck. Are we taking care of that tonight, or did we do that already?
We voted by it, it's in the minutes, that was voted
Yeah,
approved.
we voted
With a couple
approved
changes.
with the changes, so as far as I can see, we already approved that.
Yeah,
As long as
done.
the changes that we requested are there, and it seems like they are, so.
The only thing we did was break it out into 2 separate ones, as I recall.
And there was, on a 4 or 5 different pages, changes needed to be
Brandon?
made. Oh. 10%.
Sorry, we have a warning on our computer system that our battery is running low, so that is why I interrupted the town manager.
So prior to the next agenda item, I'll run upstairs and grab the cord. I think we have enough time to complete this.
Okay.
There were a couple of changes that needed to be made, a couple of typos that we fixed, and then we broke it out into
We made a couple changes, broke out the body and the truck itself.
Yep, attachment A includes the bid specifications for the hitch and wing system,
And
the
that's
plow,
with-
the hydraulics, and the dump body.
And that's with the changes that were requested.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, having that spec sheet is awesome. I think you're gonna be more clear on exactly what you want and probably get something.
I was a little unclear on what the decision was for the board, if we just wanted the spec sheet or if we're actually going to bid the body out as well as the truck.
That was my question as well. Are we putting out one RFP where we or are we putting out
I
2
thought
separate?
it was one RFP. The only thing was that we wanted them to have to meet the certain requirements on that body. You had listed
correct.
a specific body type or something like
And
that.
that's the specific body type broken out, so they know.
Right.
All the vendors that are gonna bid on it know it, like that Viking body or a 10 fill or whatever, they know what it is, but you guys wanted to see the spec, so I wrote that, that's what it is.
I would do it. I would recommend doing it as one RFP though.
With that as the body?
Yes.
Okay. And the plows.
That's my take
I'm just
on it.
unclear how you want
So to be clear, we are going with the Vermont state bid.
Or equivalent. It said
Or equivalent, that's
Okay.
correct. So, no, it might be somebody else that meets that bid or whatever,
So we'll just, yeah.
but
I think it just gives you more of a.
Yeah, and that, and then instead of including just that number, we give those complete specs.
Yeah.
right, correct.
You good with that, Randy?
Yep.
And I also would, if I can, I would just go ahead and do the 46,000 pound rear end, because that's one of the vendors did already spec that. They spec a 66,000 pound truck. The other vendor did a 44, I think. So
I think
if
that
you're at
makes sense.
46,000 or equivalent, somebody could come in at 44,000 and argue it or whatever. They could, try to talk us into it if they wanted to.
Well, you're putting a 450 horse motor in this thing too, right? 475. Yeah, you're gonna want some one max cylinder.
John, you're the rep.
I'm still confused whether or not we're sending out bids and what we're gonna receive is a complete truck or with everything done.
We're gonna send out, my understanding right now is we're sending out one bid for a truck with a plow, sander, and wing body to meet that spec or equivalent.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that spec, instead of just saying we're going to use a Viking body PL1412, we're going to use a body that's that spec or another vendor that can meet that spec.
How does that work with the chassis people?
The chassis people talk to the body people,
Okay.
and they come up with a truck, and they come up with a plan ahead of time,
Okay.
and send that in saying, well, we can meet that spec with a Tenco body, and this is the price. Or, Viking calls Volvo and says, we could build a truck with you, and maybe we should...
So they kind of team up.
Right. So you might have, as an example, Viking might go to International Freightliner and Kenworth and give them that same exact spec, and those guys have a truck built to put
Okay.
that on it. Or they might get Tenco or MG or whoever, as long as it meets that, at least that criteria.
And then just that short wordage is adequate. That package that we're talking about, it includes everything you need
Well,
for a
we
complete
also
box
It's
truck.
not short, it's 4 pages long.
Yeah, it hasn't listed all out here.
Okay, the new one.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking more along the lines of the old one.
So in the introduction, we should remove, bidders should contact Mike Murray from Viking Sys for information regarding the body, wing, and plow.
Correct.
Okay.
We're just going to include that. That way it opens it up for anybody to bid on it.
Yeah,
Right.
the state bid probably will be the lowest, but we've at least
Right.
said,
We've set the criteria.
We haven't-
opened it up.
Right, we haven't prohibited somebody or made it so somebody can't bid.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you're good, John? You're good?
Yeah.
As our rep over there? Good.
Thank you.
Yep. So we don't need to vote on this RFP, we've already done that. Okay? So we have renewals of a certificate of approval for location of a salvage yard. This is Hodgdon's Junkyard. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah. Have a good night.
Do I hear a second?
Second,
Brad.
sorry.
We have a motion and a second to approve location of the salvage yard. This is a salvage yard that has existed probably longer than I've been around. And this again is sort of like housekeeping. The permit comes up every how many years?
I believe.
Yeah, I believe every 5 years. And Chris and I did go over to the junkyard and conduct a site visit. So we walked around for about 30 minutes with them, and we did not see any problems.
Okay.
It's actually consolidated the trunk
It is.
considerably
Yeah,
from what it used to
they
be.
cleaned it up a lot.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any comments from anybody out there, Paul or anybody?
Paul
Okay.
stated he's all set.
Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the certificate for approval for location of a salvage yard signify by saying aye.
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 Mr. Tillman voted yes.
Thank you. Consider vote to approve the COVID-19 phased reopening plan. Do I hear a motion?
Move to accept.
We have a motion and a second to approve the COVID-19 phased reopening plan. This plan is for the Weathersfield town office. Is that correct?
The plans for our phase to reopen for the office, and then also downstairs for meetings. There is one item in this plan that may require select board approval, and that's whether or not to require masks upstairs and upon entrance into the building. So right now, board members would, well, if we required them, board members would come into the downstairs with a mask on, and once they sit down, they take it off, and then they put it back on prior to departure. Additionally,
Prior to what?
prior to departure, leaving.
Yeah.
And then if we required them upstairs, then everyone would be required to wear a mask until their business is finished or they're in their office alone.
How do your employees feel about it? Have you had them weigh in on it at all? Because they're the ones that are here most often. I'd prefer to go with whatever they feel safe with.
So we did have a meeting regarding whether or not to require masks, and every employee upstairs is in favor of requiring masks. So that is their request.
Okay, that's good to know.
So public would need to put a mask on, we'll have a box of them available, wash and hand sanitizer and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's correct. So basically, the phase 1 of reopening, I just want to note that it is with a limited capacity of 2 people in the building at a time. The original agreement was to open on July 6th.
You forgot.
Meet one of those test patterns that used to come on the TV when we went on the blanket.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. If people out there can still hear us, which I doubt you can, we have lost power on the PC.
See that one? Grab the hold of the hot one.
Yeah, you did. Ouch.
How'd you do that?
Oh, I was running our water pump, trying to get some water in the driveway, and I grabbed hold of it when it was hot.
I'll do it.
Not smart of me.
I know, and you're stupid. That was dumb.
Those weren't the exact words, but yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Poor Max, the neighbor.
Boy, we were doing so good, too.
Yeah, we're still doing good.
Yeah. We're getting there.
Yeah, we made it past Works Fire Department. Everything was reaching home.
There's a lot of new stuff in here.
Yeah.
Somebody's happening. Actually change it.
This is all ours.
But these aren't. 3 cameras?
That one I think is.
I don't think we own any of them.
No, I think
That one.
isn't that one ours, Brandon?
That one's ours right there, and then those 2 are Sappa's new cameras. He's controlling them remotely from his house.
Somebody actually switching them?
Huh?
Somebody actually watching it and switching it?
Yeah, I believe Jared's on there right now.
Well, I'm going to address SAPA then and let them know that, yeah, we're in the middle of a crisis with the computer where the battery died. There was no power plugged in, so that system has shut down for a moment, and we are waiting for the town managers just to get us back up and running again, and then we will resume the meeting.
We can hear you.
Okay, great.
And Paul's getting darker and darker.
Yeah.
So he just fade away.
Yeah, now he's gone now.
Oh. He's
Oh, no,
gone.
he turned the light on.
So like I was saying, all of the employees are in favor of having masks upstairs, at least until further notice, and we can decide in a later phase whether or not to require them.
Anything else?
When's this going to commence?
So phase 1 is June 18th. Excuse me, June 22nd to July 1st. And that's so we can experiment with the plan that we have in place.
Okay.
We may need to make modifications to the plan, so we're just doing it with a limited capacity. On July 1st. Phase 2 will begin, at which point 10 people will be able to come into Martin Memorial Hall at one time, on top of the staff that are in the building. But we usually never have that many people in here
pretty
at
large
once.
number.
Yeah.
So, and we're putting tape on the floors so everybody's spaced 6 feet apart. So if there were 10 people inside of Martin Memorial Hall, they would have to stand 6 feet apart down.
Phase 2 still requiring masks?
That is correct.
Okay.
And phase 2 is beginning on July 1st, and then to be announced. So we'll take it one step at a time.
Who's going to accomplish the cleaning checklist? Our staff or the cleaning foreman?
We have a
Person?
Yeah, we have a cleaning company that comes in. So this is the checklist that we've established. Suzanne put this together,
Yeah.
and basically she'll check off each of these. We do not expect her to do all of this in one visit, so it's something we'll chat with her about and determine how many visits it will take for her to complete the list. But this, right now, there's nothing that she checks off to tell us what she has done. So this checklist will allow us to know what has been cleaned and what has not been cleaned.
Okay.
Anything else? Any questions?
The final,
Oops.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
The final item is community use of downstairs. I've talked to several residents in the community about reopening downstairs for church events. And I believe they had yoga classes and so forth down here. Under this plan, we are not reopening those activities. We will revisit it again on July 27th of this year, but as of right now, we don't think it's a good idea to hold those events downstairs. COVID-19 is more dangerous to the age group that uses downstairs, and also it would require that a health officer be present downstairs when they do use it for those events. So before we open it for community use, I'd like to have a conversation with those that use it and come up with a plan that works for them, just to make sure they're protected and they know how to properly social distance, and they can come and exit and enter and exit the building, and so forth. So after I've spoken with residents, we believe it's best to wait until July 27th before we reopen it.
Where'd that date come from?
It was a date that we talked about with, that I talked about with the residents that voiced their concern about reopening downstairs. Specifically, a couple of the residents have mothers and grandmothers that come down here, and they were concerned about reopening it and with COVID-19. Also, it's scheduling and different groups that come down here and use it. So I really need to speak with all of them and come up with a plan that works. And we haven't done that yet.
Well, and that cleaning needs to take place in between a use too.
Yes, we would also have to increase our cleaning costs.
Right.
That's one thing, and then additionally, if it was used on Sunday, which we can designate a health officer within the group. But that has to, you know, I need one responsible person that can, you know, read the questions and make sure that everyone's distancing and so forth. So July 27th was chosen for those reasons, and then also to measure how it goes with reopening upstairs.
Do we have to follow any guidelines that the state put in place, or are we allowed to be more stringent but not less?
That's correct.
Okay.
Does this parallel state recommendations, or did we pretty much come up with this?
Well, we came up with this plan, but we followed Vermont Department of Health, VOSHA, and the Vermont Agency of Commerce and Community Development in accordance with Governor Scott's COVID-19 executive orders and subsequent additionally guidelines from CDC. So we basically combined all of them and created this plan tailored to this town.
Good.
The July 27th date, I mean, we can make it earlier, or we can revisit it on July 27th. I think between now and then, it would give us time to properly open community use of downstairs. So that's what we've come up with so far.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Paul has a question, I guess. Go ahead, Paul. Can you tell us what Monday the 22nd will have for restrictions? We have a public hearing and would like to know how that will work.
So currently the governor has increased social gatherings to 25 people. But it really depends on the size of the room and whether or not you can be 6 feet apart. So I'm not 100% sure if we can properly social distance and stay 6 feet apart in this room.
I've got a question that goes right along that. I'm sorry to interrupt you right there. But if we were to have a hearing and a husband and a wife come in, they get to sit together, and then the next couple has to be 6 feet away from them, correct? It's not 6 feet for every single person.
Assuming the husband and wife live together and they're in the same house.
Well, yeah. there is that.
See if
If
third
it's a
person's
protest, you can have 100.
I mean, it is very restrictive, but we're trying to take it slow because we don't want anyone to get COVID-19.
Correct.
So,
and we don't want to trigger any kind of train or trail for it to take off on either.
absolutely.
I believe, Paul, you're talking about the Reed hearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
So
we can have the hearing virtually and in person.
Correct.
So between now and then, we can determine how many people we can fit downstairs. And we'll have the signs for the entrance and exit in place. We have the signs upstairs right now. Doolittle's creating enter and exit signs to put inside the sign holders. So they're freestanding signs. We've changed the entrance to the other side of the building and the exit to this side of the building. So people will come in and then go out here. So the same would be true for the public hearing. They would come in, they would enter, we'll have tape on the floor in 6-foot spaces. And prior to then, we can determine how many people we can have down here. We'll have to have somebody at the door, assuming that we get that many people and that much public input to count as people walk in, and then we'll have to cut it off.
This is a hearing on a petition. to change zoning. I can see a few that are directly connected to it that might show up. I'm not sure it would be like the previous hearing. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, you don't know.
But no, I don't. Other than we went through one, yes, we did. We went through one of these. Because the original hearing was, you know, the cease and desist zoning stuff that was going on. And that was, and it was pretty contentious in the beginning. But then there was the petition to change zoning, and that one wasn't, I think there was only like maybe 6 or 8 people that showed up for that, if I remember right. That sound about right, Paul? About 6 or 8 people that showed up for that last, yeah, that's what I thought. So, but yes, you're right, you don't know, but,
We could hold it outside. That's another option.
We could hold it in the school and
School
hasn't
wasn't
been
letting
too
us.
receptive to that.
Well, school's not letting us. We talked about no.
Then they gotta do it, even though they're gonna start 4 weeks later.
Okay. So where are we at with this? Any other comments or concerns or questions about the COVID-19 reopening, phased reopening? We have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Next item, consider a vote to amend the personnel policy. Do I hear a motion? Now I've got one that's out of sequence here. Personnel policy. Where did that end up, everybody?
Yeah.
It's directly after the phased reopening plan.
Not in mine. Not in mine. It's
Page
not.
before number 13 is where it is on mine.
Page before 13.
It's before 13.
That's COVID.
No, that's fireworks stuff.
Okay, you don't have it.
Is it in there?
I got vacation. Then I
Yep.
go into the.
That is in there somewhere.
Okay, you do have it.
Yeah.
So it's vacation. It's the vacation leave policy. It's a personnel.
Oh, is that what it is?
Personnel policy. It's
Right.
just a section of the personnel policy.
Oh, okay. So it is, okay. Existing vacation leave policy. Do I hear a motion? Anybody?
I gotta be honest, I'd be more comfortable if we tabled this. I glazed over it, and I'm just barely looking at it. Move the table.
Sorry.
What do you got to say, Brandon?
It's a minor change. We only changed, if I can, I'm just going to pull it up here so I can I have the opportunity to explain? Okay.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff struck out here, and I don't see anything replacing it.
If you turn on the back page, that's the personnel policy that I'm proposing. I mean, the vacation leave policy that I'm proposing. I have had a couple of employees approach me about the vacation leave policy, and I'm just gonna, I gave you my copy, so I'm just gonna get to it in the packet here, so I can be more specific.
We seem to be treading water. It's still like, I'll make a motion to table.
Do I hear a second?
No. Okay.
No. If it's something minor, let's just get it over with.
Yeah, so it's very minor. We have employees that work for the town that have been here for more than a year. I mean, less than 2 years, but more than 1 year.
I see where you're going.
And the only change that I've made here, which I feel like is just and keeps employee morale, is that we've changed from 0 to 2 years to 0 to 1 year. If you've been here for 1 year, you get 1 week of vacation. Prior to that, it was you have to stay here for 2 years and then you get 2 weeks of vacation. We have an employee whose family lives overseas. We have a police officer specifically, who is only receiving 40 hours of vacation right now, because he has been here under 2 years and not over 3 years. So I think if you've made it past the 1 year probationary period, you should be allotted 2 weeks of vacation, which aligns with many other cities and towns in the United States.
Okay. Let me interrupt you there, Brandon.
Yep.
It looks like from the 0 to 16 years, or from 40 hours to 160 hours, that did not change. 0 to 1 changed to 40. 3 to 9 changed to 2 to 6.
That's correct.
So that reduced it at between 2 and 6 years, you get 80 hours, and then instead of 10 to 15 years, it kicks in at 7, that you're at 3 weeks, and that's on up to 15 years, and then 16 plus years is 160 hours.
Which is the same that it was in the existing
That's
vacation
correct.
policy.
Yep. And employees working less than 40 hours a week will accrue prorated vacation time based on their regular scheduled hours. So it really is just a shift in the time and where you end up with your vacations, which to me looks consistent with anything I ever did when I was in the workforce.
Correct.
For the most part. So we have a motion. Did we have a second? Not sure we had a second.
Motion was to table, that's not a motion on the floor.
We had a
Nobody
motion.
seconded
We
it.
had a motion to table, and there was no
And
second for that.
There's no motion on the floor.
I thought I asked for a motion.
You did.
Oh, but
Yeah,
but I didn't get it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Paul.
Consider a vote to amend the personnel policy. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to accept the proposed vacation leave policy.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Paul seconded it prior to Ms.
Okay.
Harrison. I just want to make a note.
So Paul seconded that.
It was very close, but I did see the second pop up, and I just... Sorry.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Paul is an aye. Consider a vote to approve 7/5/20 application for a fireworks display. I believe this is for you, John?
Yep. How are we going to do this? I should be abstaining.
You-
Wait, we got
We got
all.
all.
Second,
Okay.
yeah, so.
Phew.
I'm not sure you would have to abstain, actually. I'm not sure you need to.
Kind of control.
It's not, there's no money involved.
No, there is not. Well, actually, there is.
The other way.
way.
So, okay, do I have a motion to approve the 7/5/20 application for fireworks display?
So moved.
I'll second that, or Paul can second that. I already did anyway.
This is just,
go.
excuse me, this is a quasi-public event. Anybody shows up is going to be welcome. I'm going to encourage people to socially distance, encourage people to wear masks. Some probably will, some probably won't. There's so little going on, excuse me, this 4th of July that wanted to do something so people could have some fun. It's going to be a professional display. It's not going to be a particularly huge one, but we're going to do some interesting stuff.
Appreciate that.
Well, okay. My first concern with that was, when Brandon asked me about it, the agenda and stuff, I said, well, put it on. If it's a private event, who cares? His concern was it being a public event, and I guess mine was too. As I am concerned, like you said, nothing else is going on around us. If somebody hears there's fireworks in Weathersfield, are we going to be in trouble?
I don't think so. I can't guarantee that the gazillion people will show up.
Well, at that point, it'd be up to you as a landowner to say, I have too many people here.
You know, you got you and you could go.
Yeah, well, you've been here too long.
Well, I think what would happen, because the parking is going to be up on one side of the road, then at some point people will just stay down near the church or off on Mule Lane and watch from there, which is, they're going to probably be either just sitting on the hood of their car or something. The parking's going to be pretty limited.
It's not going to be advertised, is it?
No.
Paul Tillman has comments.
Or it wasn't until tonight.
Paul Tillman says everyone around has canceled their fireworks.
Actually, that's not entirely true. Chester is shooting on the 3rd. The only other one I'm aware of is Killington. Other than that, Chester is having a display on the 3rd, and that's at the Legion.
I was aware of Lebanon and Claremont working together, and Lebanon pulled the plug and Claremont followed.
Yeah. There aren't a lot.
No,
There aren't a lot.
not. Yes. Paul says Claremont just canceled. Yes, so did Lebanon. I don't know if they were working on that at one site or not.
Paul also asked, will people from everywhere be welcome? And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to.
Yes, that's been asked and answered. Yes.
Okay.
If it's open to the public, then the answer to that is yes, correct? But then in discussing that, Joey pointed out that John will be responsible for,
We don't have a large gathering permit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Abstain.
Paul said yes.
Wait,
Thank you.
No, it's spelled
So we have.
Wait, Paul hasn't voted yet.
I vote yes. Okay. So 3 yeses and John abstained.
How do you spell I? Y-E.
A-Y-E.
A-Y-E.
Isn't it?
Okay.
We have another, can I have a motion to extend the meeting? We don't have much left to do, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
Yep. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have another fireworks display, also from John Harrison, for 8/28/20. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve?
This is not a public display. This is for my daughter's wedding. We already approved this for May 30th, which went down to 2. This one may go down to 2 also.
I recall. And Paul seconded that. I recall that this is just a move,
Right.
thing, which was previously approved already anyway. Any further discussion? This is a private event. This is a private event.
Yes.
Right. This is a wedding.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Abstain.
Paul votes yes and John abstains. Appointments. We've already done the Deputy Health Officer, and we have 2 alternates to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, DeBoris Beers and David Gulbranson. Do I hear a motion?
How many do we usually have?
I
Are we
think
allowed
I
two?
think we're allowed 2 by statute.
Okay. Move to appoint Forrest Beers and David Branson as alternates to the CBA.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approve the warrants.
Make a motion to approve the warrant article June 15th, 2020. General fund payroll $15,838.63. Operating $79,287.69. Highway payroll $8,422.80. Operating $12,799.83. Solid waste payroll $1,513.19. Operating $8,244.95. Library payroll $1,799.54. Grants $672.43 total. Payroll $27,574.16. Operating $101,004.90.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the warrants. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any other business to be conducted by the board?
Get well soon, Paul.
Yes, Paul, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm sorry to hear about your weekend and hope you feel better soon. Thank you to everybody else that joined us.
Motion to adjourn.
Future agenda, it's not on here, but future agenda, just to quickly review with the town manager. We have the transfer station option agreement lease for the solar system.
Yep.
Scotty Volunteer Fire Department insurance coverage. Website design, consider an early start.
So you want that on the next agenda?
Well, you and
Okay.
Dave will probably set the next agenda. These are future agenda items. This is just what I wrote down as we went through.
Yep.
You have the second reading
Yep.
of the policy
Got that one.
and the Martin Luther King holiday
Correct.
for discussion as well.
And I asked this week have Chief Daniels come in and on camera kind of update us on where our department stands on some of the issues that are affecting the nation. He seemed quite receptive, and I think that would be helpful that all five of us heard the same thing. So the citizens asked us, we can definitively say we talked to the chief, this is what we heard, plus they'll be able to watch it on camera.
Okay, got that, Brandon?
What was it again? I'm sorry. What was that again?
I'll tell you later.
Yes, yeah. John will touch base with you and get that. It's having the chief of police come in and report to all of us on
what policies we have. It basically revolves around the nation and the discussion that people are having at home.
Yes.
Yep. And that's it for me here. A motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 9:05. Night, everybody. Thank you.